Okay, so now what I want to do is kind of show you how to get started with shading in the shapes that you see for your volute contour drawing. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to break down this area even more. So I said to do 11. I only have 3 right now, but let's say I had more drawings of the pair of scissors. And then I'm gonna do one more. Sorry. I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna do it close this time like this. And maybe go through here. As you're drawing your contour drawings, try to find areas on the page that are blank and that need to be broken down. So like this space right here needs to be broken down. If I were to shade this whole thing, I would be shading in this whole big shape, right? So I want to break it down so that I don't have to do so much shading. Okay. So I'm gonna actually turn this so it's easier for me, and then maybe just start here and I'll do the handles like this. Okay. So here I go. I'm gonna make it pretty big. And like I said, I want you to please take even more time doing these. I'm going kind of fast, so. And I say, like, you know, make sure you're all looking at your object at least 70% of the time. But it is very hard, right? Because we want to look at our page. So I think that's one of the hardest things about this exercise / assignment. So thicker here. I think when I did this back in college, it was also my first big kind of drawing assignment. She didn't even, my professor didn't even explain. I was just like, okay, pick an object, and then 3, 4, 5. And then we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And I picked, it was like this tool with like a screwy thing. I don't know what they're called, but like a screw knob. I remember trying to draw like every little line in the screw and just like wanting to cry. And by the end, like we were all exhausted, which students usually are. All right, so here we go. This is what I have. That's what I'm gonna do for now. But you see how I broke this space down. It's still big. So these are only 4 pair of scissors, but if I were to do more, I would maybe break this and overlap the lines here even more. Okay, overlap is good. Now things get crazy when lines like this and these small shapes. This one actually isn't bad. I've seen drawings that get even crazier and just like it's like scribbles. That's okay. Scribbles are fine. Now it's just having to figure out which lines to clean up and which lines to keep. Okay. And there are different ways to go about doing this. We don't know what this is going to look like. You can certainly plan the movement. We need 5 volutes, 7 for drawing 2, but we need 5 volutes. And the point is also kind of to learn what volutes can do. If you look at the PowerPoint that I sent you, the power of volutes, like light there was a drawing, this beautiful drawing of like a canyon or rocks, and I believe like as it went into the rocks, or there was like a shadowed area which was darker in volume, it just kind of pulled everything into the darker volume and the rocks. So volumes, it gives you that dimensionality, that volume that warping in space on a flat dimensional surface. You can keep that in mind and do it. If you look at one of the student examples, I think it's the one that kind of looks like butterfly wings. It's called Butterfly Effect. The student really thought about, how they wish the viewer to kind of move around the page, right? So she wanted this kind of movement, right? I mean, it's up to you, but what I would recommend is, even if you have all these crazy lines, like these kind of isolated lines, just strands of lines, just keep them there, and you can always cover them, or you can erase them as you're working on it. I don't really have a plan for what I'm gonna do. One other thing that I will emphasize is that you have a piece of paper, like scrap paper, because your hands will smudge. When there's so much volume, especially using 6B, it's gonna smudge, and you're going like this, it's gonna smudge your wonderful work. So just be careful, and always have a clean piece of paper or napkin under your hand, okay? So you need 5 volues. You can have your volume scale out with you just to make sure you have it. I have my 4B, 6B, HB. There are different ways about going this. Some students will start with the darker volumes and distribute the dark volumes, the 5s, the darkest, throughout the page first, and then just fill it in like 4, 3, 2, 1. I just kind of move with the flow, and then I'm gonna make this dark, and then kind of see how it works out as I'm shading it. But this is a 6B, and please shade in all the way to the edges. You may do gradient shading, which is like within a shape you get dark to light or dark to light, and there's more than one volume. But each shape has to be a different volume. Volume shapes, think of it as volume shapes. So you're filling in each shape with one volume. I don't want outlines, okay? So if there's like a shape like a triangle, okay, and you say, oh, this is gonna be a light volume. Here's the HB. It's gonna be a light volume, and you shade in. It's gonna be a light volume like this. You see how there's a dark outline? Don't have it. Make sure the volume defines the outline of the shape. So if it's gonna be this light in the shape, this outline has to also be that volume. Unless you intend it. But so then what you would do is erase and lighten up the outline first, and then make that volume define the outline of the shape. That's so important, okay? But anyways, going back to shading, this is gonna take you at least 10 hours of work to shade in this whole page. So if it's taking you 2-3 hours, it's not enough. That's another thing. So it is a very time-consuming project, and I would do at least 1 to a couple hours each night, okay? And there are class times that I give you the whole 2.5 to 3 hours to work on this, so I would make use of that time, especially if you have other classes or you have other responsibilities, jobs, duties. So don't put this aside and be like, oh, it's just a shading project, and all I have to do is shade. And no, it takes a long time, and do a good job to learn how to shade, to get used to the pencils. I'm just going to do a little bit, and as you are shading, you can shade into different shapes as well, okay? Let me show you an example of maybe having a dark and light volume. I'm gonna make this one light. And then this one like this one. Here you go. Let's see if I can show you how to do a gradient. So I'm gonna go from dark to light right here in this little tiny piece. And if you want, you can practice this in your sketchbook first, like how to shade in gradients. But it's kind of a volume scale that's kind of blended within. And as I get lighter, I'm just gonna change my pencil to maybe a 2B. There's kind of a gradient right here, dark to light. Okay, so it's up to you. You're the creator. You decide how you want this project to be.